Story 1. Photography. You don't need an expensive camera. Just good lighting and the ability to be creative when people ask if you used photo editing software. Story 2. No, this is all wrong. The whole point of a hobby is to find a new reason to buy various items and obsess over which one is the best. Then you can make a brand part of your identity, talk endlessly about it, watch videos related to it, and wear shirts featuring your brand. Now that's what a good hobby is all about. Story 3. Playing the guitar. The first thing you learn is not a song, but how to apologize to everyone in your house. Story 4. Yarn crafts like crochet are enjoyable. If you want to get into the details, you may need some special tools. However, basic crochet hooks and yarn from the dollar store are more than enough for the casual crocheter. Story 5. Reading is now available for free at your local library. Writing is also beneficial and can help reduce stress. Story 6. Chess. You don't need to buy a board. Just play online for free. Learn 2 openings and enjoy playing endless 4-move checkmate defenses. Story 7. Fishing can be done with a hook, some rope, an empty plastic bottle, and bait that you find along the shore. Spending less than $100 will provide you with a set of fishing gear capable of reliably catching 90% of the most popular species. Story 8. Riding a bicycle is an enjoyable activity that you can do anywhere, at any age, and on nearly any surface. If you truly love it, you can plan entire trips around cycling, make friends while riding, and it's also a great way to stay healthy and get cardiovascular exercise. Story 9. Gardening can be done indoors at any time of the year, using pots or planting directly in the ground for vegetables or cut flowers. Story 10. Fishing. A $30 to $40 rod and the cheapest bait or lures you can find can provide dozens of hours of fishing. I have a friend who has spent thousands on bass fishing and gets quite upset when his expensive lures do not catch anything. Story 11. Cycling is great for your health as it has a low impact on your joints and allows you to see places you might not normally visit. I cycled 2,600 miles over the last 2 years, according to my bike computer, and enjoyed every mile of it. Story 12. Musical instruments like harmonica, kalimba, and tin whistle are accessible. With $20, YouTube, and plenty of practice, you can make significant progress. Story 13. .22 Target shooting. A $150 to $300 rifle will get you hooked, and ammunition is inexpensive compared to high-power rifles. Story 14. Tennis. A Walmart racket is perfectly fine to begin practicing and evaluate whether it is for you. Balls are also inexpensive, and there are plenty of public courts. Story 15. Making or modifying mechanical keyboards requires some screwdrivers, foam, grease, and a switch or keycap puller. Story 16. Card games. Not Magic, The Gathering, or Pokemon. You can do a lot with a standard bicycle deck for a few dollars. Just don't gamble on it. Story 17. VHS collecting is a great hobby that I am really into. The entry-level equipment, a video cassette recorder, is all you need. If you become more dedicated to collecting VHS tapes, you can use your own video cassette recorder to clean the tapes and more. Story 18. Prospecting for gold panning involves using a pan that costs between $10 and $20, along with some small hand tools that most people already possess. Story 19. Crochet. The most basic stitch can be used to create amigurumi. If you do the basic stitch twice, you can create granny squares, bags, blankets, and cardigans. It offers a sense of achievement and serves as a great way to pass the time and provide therapeutic benefits. Story 20. Disc golf. All you really need is one driver, which can be purchased for as little as $7. Programming. Any computer is capable of programming. Story 21. Knitting. Inexpensive needles and yarn from your local craft store creates blankets for cats and dogs at rescue centers. Story 22. Bowling is a great entry-level sport. A good bowling ball, shoes, and bag will cost around $200. The bag and shoes will last a long time, while most balls are ideal for about 2 seasons if you play in a league. However, joining a league can be quite expensive, typically costing around $15 to $20 per week for a 30-week season. The most affordable entry-level activity is likely soccer. as all you need is a ball and a patch of grass. It doesn't get easier than that. Story 23. Painting. You can spend very little on decent primary watercolors and mix them to get most other colors. You do not need the best brushes to create something that will bring you joy. Story 24. You can find the supplies at Goodwill or a local buy and sell page, and you can get started for under $5. You can probably make a beanie with what you have. Story 25. Vinyl collecting offers an enjoyable way to curate your music choices over time without the need for an expensive sound system. You can explore a wide range of quality music at your own pace without overspending. Story 26. Fishing allows you to catch the same fish with budget or secondhand equipment as you can with expensive gear. Story 27. Basketball. You just need a basketball and something to throw it into. Exercise. You can perform bodyweight workouts almost anywhere. Gold panning. You need at least a simple pan, but as you progress, you may require more equipment. Informing your spouse about the gear is optional. Story 28. Web browsing and social media have evolved significantly. We have transitioned from computers and internet access costing hundreds of dollars upfront, along with substantial additional running costs for a phone line, to a situation where anyone can simply purchase an inexpensive smartphone with 4G or better, gaining access to a gigabyte or more of data for less than the cost of the device. Story 29. Cycling, cooking, photography, and hiking are all enjoyable activities at an entry level. Story 30. Baseball, whittling, various types of photography, tennis, sculpting with clay, drawing, writing, gardening, and hiking. Story 31. Photography. You can grab any entry-level camera or even your phone, and voila, you are a photographer now. Story 32. Filmmaking. Nobody ever left the cinema saying, "That was a great movie. Too bad it only had 12 stops of dynamic range." A moderately priced crop-sensor digital single-lens reflex camera from 5 to 7 years ago can approximate Super 35 film from 40 years ago, in the right hands. People think they have to shoot with the latest full-frame Sony equipment, and all it does is make their film look like everyone else's. Story 33. Maybe indoor rock climbing? Not that I've ever done it personally, but essentially you can do everything with the right amount of practice. By everything, I mean you can attempt to do it all and probably look a little silly, but I'm just expressing my thoughts at this point. Story 34. Knitting for indoor activities and hiking for outdoor adventures. Even archery is enjoyable. I spent about $200 to $250 on a beginner bow set and target, and I have been having a great time. Story 35. Any instrument requires commitment, but the beginner tier for most items is around $100 to $200 unless you only need headphones for a drum setup, which is very manageable. Playing around with a slingshot can also be enjoyable. Story 36. If you have a tandy nearby, they often offer affordable leatherwork classes. You can create useful items with just a few tools, although it's not the cheapest crafting option. You'll need a box knife, cutting mat, hole punch, mallet, stitching needles, a wooden edge burnisher, and die. You can purchase a kit that includes many great beginner projects for around $100. Story 37. I would argue that most hobbies become more enjoyable when you understand the benefits of higher quality equipment. You do not truly appreciate what it offers until you outgrow the entry-level options. Story 38. Do not buy cheap shoes for running long distances. I run marathons, and shoes priced between $100 and $150 work well for me. Beyond that, just wear shorts, a t-shirt, and have a way to carry water, and you're all set. Story 39. Swimming. For men, less than $100 can get you a decent pair of goggles and a swimsuit. For women, less than $200. Story 40. Watercolors. For about a $50 investment, you have everything you need to start sketching, painting, and following online tutorials. Story 41. Whittling may not be very common, but you can try your hand at it by using a knife and some wood to see what you can create. If you don't like the result, at least you have a very sharp knife in your toolbox. Story 42. Rock hounding involves exploring for interesting rocks. You have hands and usually pockets wherever you go, so take a moment to examine the rocks and pick up the ones that catch your eye. Story 43, most of them, really. Even activities that require equipment, like biking, can be enjoyed with an entry-level bike, or music with an entry-level instrument. High-end items are for the true enthusiasts. I am certainly guilty at times. Story 44, model building. Good Japanese kits just need nippers to remove the piece from the sprue. No glue is required. Story 45. Baking homemade bread is delicious, and it smells great. There are many recipes available. Using a bread machine can be convenient. You can also try cakes that start with a mix, followed by muffins, biscuits, scratch cakes, and pie. Additionally, you will need to incorporate exercise into your routine. Story 46. Astronomy is a fascinating hobby. In fact, you will likely learn more with a basic telescope and equatorial mount than you will with the most advanced telescopes available. Learning how to polar align your telescope, set up your settings, and figure out star hopping are all fulfilling accomplishments that are important to master if you wish to take the hobby seriously. Story 47. I started with 3D printing for less than $50. The inexpensive used printers force you to learn all the details of why and how things work. It's more challenging than using the expensive equipment, but it was a fun experience. Story 48. It may sound surprising given the investment I've made, but music production is accessible. You can start with just an iPad and GarageBand, which is free with Apple products. There are many free instruments available and countless videos online to help you get started. Story 49. Soft glass bead making is an interesting hobby. Introductory kits are reasonably priced, and you can use an old crock pot to anneal the beads. Story 50. Metal detecting. I bought an inexpensive one last year and have been practicing in my backyard, but I hope to travel a bit this spring and summer. You can find some very expensive equipment if you want, but it doesn't take much to get started. Story 51. Raising goats is inexpensive. You will need to pay for fencing and a charger, provide them with a lean-to shelter and water, and supply hay during the winter along with some feed. As long as they have brush to eat, you don't have to feed them much. All the equipment is durable and lasts a long time. Story 52. Reading. Dungeons & Dragons offers online rules and many online adventures. You just need some dice and pizza pockets. Soccer requires a ball and shoes. Pickleball needs a paddle, which costs around $20 for a basic one, and a ball that is about $3. Walking, running, and jogging are all great activities. Martial arts typically require no equipment, but you need a gym to practice in. Story 53. Fly fishing. You can get an affordable rod and reel at Cabela's, along with all the necessary supplies. You don't need many supplies. Story 54. Brewing your own wine or cider can be as simple as adding a little yeast to your bottle of juice. Leave the cap on very lightly, and a couple of weeks later you have wine. If you want to take it a bit more seriously, you can buy an airlock and a demijohn. There are many simple fruit juice wine recipes available online. I finished some alcoholic ginger beer last week and currently have a fruit juice wine and a hard cider bubbling away in my spare room. The only thing you really need is patience. The longer you leave a brew, the better it tastes. Story 55. Homebrewing can begin with a large stock pot, a food-grade 5-gallon bucket, and some empty bottles. After that, you only need the ingredients, which for a 5-gallon batch can cost as little as $20. Story 56. Remote control modeling includes cars and airplanes, which are surprisingly affordable compared to 15 years ago. A slow park flyer can be quite rewarding. Story 57. Fishing is easy to start. Just ask someone who fishes. They might give you gear or let you use it. I have caught fish with $30 rigs and $1,000 rigs. I had a lot of good times with those $30 rigs back in my youth when that was what I could afford. I'm still having fun with $1,000 rigs as I get older. Story 58. Tie-dyeing. Better equipment doesn't necessarily make the process easier or produce better results. Higher quality dyes may look more appealing, but purchasing better tools won't improve your color theory or pattern making skills. Story 59. Radio control can be quite enjoyable with an unlimited budget, but even getting an inexpensive one can still provide plenty of fun. Story 60. If you have a modern computer capable of posting on Reddit and watching YouTube, you can learn how to create simple websites. Everything you need to learn is free, and there are even free ways to host those websites online. That same computer also allows you to learn and play chess for free, or you can get into writing by using any free software and joining writing-related forums to become part of a community. You don't need an expensive gaming computer or an expensive MacBook for any of this. I mention modern because one could argue that a low-cost used laptop from 1998 is entry-level equipment. But seriously, any new laptop released in 2024 for under $500 should be sufficient to create fun websites and learn from YouTube. Story 61, Billiards. Eventually, most longtime players will graduate to a $1,000 pool cue, but I have seen older players with $100 cues absolutely dominate. Story 62, Archery is fun, even with inexpensive equipment. If your bow isn't as accurate, you can simply stand closer to the target. Story 63, a basic pair of hiking boots and a backpack, along with your regular clothes, are all you would need 95% of the time. Story 64, one activity I haven't tried yet is woodworking. You don't need a full-fledged shop. Just get your basic hand tools, and you can build almost anything you want. There's no need to buy a workbench. You can simply make one. Story 65. Not very common, but very fun and a great motor control exercise is spinning poi. It just takes some tube socks and a couple of tennis balls for the most affordable option, but it's endlessly customizable without having to buy an expensive set. I made my little brother his first set by tying monkey fists around wooden balls at the end of a rope. Story 66. Leatherwork began for me with a basic set of tools and leather I salvaged from a couch. Many tools can be created affordably or substituted. Over time, I upgraded to higher quality tools. Story 67. Collectibles. My boyfriend and I love collecting Pop Mart and Pokemon items. It's enjoyable and can also be a good investment, especially with Pokemon, as their value typically increases over time. Story 68. Darts. A nice set of darts will only make a marginal difference. Basic ones use the same principles, and you will have just as much fun. Story 69. Honestly, for my teen and young adults, it is joining the Society for Creative Anachronism. It encompasses many things, including something like a medieval fight club. The local chapter provided them with equipment and generously offered various hand-me-downs. They invited them to build armor for themselves in equipped workshops for the cost of materials. My son has spent money, while his friends have spent nothing to $50 in exchange for several weekly sword fighting practices. They now all have a growing collection of items, including dresses, tunics, neck armor, and elbow pads. Note that this is a worldwide organization, so every location varies significantly in what they offer. Story 70. Find a genre you enjoy, sit with a cup of coffee or tea, and read for a while with some music playing quietly. If you want to save money, consider free ebooks from amateur authors or free ebooks on Amazon using the Kindle web app. Once you find an author you like, support them by purchasing an audiobook or a digital or paper copy of their book. Story 71. Download the system reference document for free, download a dice application, gather some friends, pencils, and paper, and then let your imagination do the rest. Story 72. Open sea swimming. With a swimsuit and a snorkel, you can explore the underwater world and its living creatures. Story 73. Beekeeping. $500 for the first hive, equipment, and a package of bees. April is the perfect month to get started. Surprisingly urban-friendly. Story 74. Probably someone will criticize me, but audiophilia is the love for highly precise, high-end audio equipment. Edifier speakers go a long way. Story 75. Making potholders can be a bit challenging. The loops can be expensive, and to use them effectively, you need to sew the last loop onto one corner. Otherwise, the whole item may unravel during use. Additionally, knot tying is important. Currently, I know around 15 knots, many of which I use on a daily basis. All you need is a short, strong line. Story 76. Walking and camping. When camping, people often get particular about equipment, but all you really need is food, blankets, and pillows. Maybe a tent. Story 77. Fishing requires a flexible tree branch, a shoelace, a safety pin, a worm, and possibly a cork. I caught a lot while camping. Nothing large, but enough for dinner. Story 78. Barbecue. Meat, fire, salt, enjoy. The levels are endless for learning, but even the most basic cook can achieve delicious results. Don't like meat? Grill or smoke vegetables. Story 79. Knitting is a wonderful activity. Start by knitting rows back and forth to create scarves and blankets, which are always appreciated. Once you become comfortable with the basics, you can move on to more complicated projects. Story 80. Frisbee golf. I have 3 discs in total, no bag, and those discs are probably mediocre at best to a professional. They are very worn and have scuffs on them. I typically average 3 to 4 throws per round, so I'm not very skilled. However, it is still enjoyable to me on sunny days. Story 81. A decent dartboard costs $40, while a great one is approximately $100. A cheap set of darts can be found for $20, and a solid set can be purchased for under $50, with high-quality options available for a little more. You can achieve the full dart experience at home for a total of $60, and most people can find space for it. Alternatively, you can invest a few $100s for an excellent setup. Story 82. There is a craft called pixel beads that is really enjoyable, especially because you can recreate a lot of pixel art with these beads. Some people make impressive items like Pokemon sprites, while others create keychains or cute little designs. I find it to be a fun activity. Story 83. Traditional drawing allows you to use various materials such as pens, pencils, and chalk to create artwork. You can also draw on different surfaces. With a budget of around $100, you can start exploring digital art. Many skilled digital artists create impressive work using affordable tablets. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.